Welcome to Response-Able Parenting, the podcast that shows you how to parent in alignment to your emotions, needs, and goals versus your programming, bad advice, and let's face it, outdated strategies that just don't work. You'll get in the trenches support on nervous system and emotional regulation, critical mindset shifts, stronger communication strategies, and more. In this podcast, you'll gain transformational tools that take you from reacting to every frustration to responding with clarity, regulation, and finally setting the example you desire for your kids. I'm Becky Jennings, your new parenting coach, and this is the Response-Able Parenting podcast. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode. I'm going to share a very silly story, but you know how I tend to like to link things to parenting, and I like to kind of draw these helpful correlations because the breakneck speed and the way life is at this current moment can feel like we need anything to kind of snap us back into reality. So a couple days ago, I was walking the dogs and there was a rock in my shoe. And it was frustrating. It's just like, it's annoying. You have like a rock in your shoe. But I just tried to ignore it. I tried to just, I was like, I just got to get this walk done. I just have to get this done. And so I continued to power through. I just powered through the walk. I just kept going and it just kept getting more and more annoying. Like it moved from like the middle of my foot to the front of my foot. And then it just kept moving around. And I was just like, oh my God, this is really starting to like be obnoxious. And yet, even though I was saying to myself, this is really obnoxious, all you need to do is stop and dump out your shoe. The amount of other stuff that was on my to-do list was seemingly more important than stopping and actually taking care of something that was causing annoyance and frustration. And not just causing like temporary annoyance and frustration. It was something that with every step in this half an hour walk was annoying me. Now, you might be sitting here going, this is so stupid. Like, why didn't she just pull over and stop walking and dump out the rock? And the answer is, yeah, you're right. Why didn't I do that? I ended up doing it the last like 5 minutes of the walk, and it took 20 seconds. 20 seconds. The shoe was back on, the rock was out, and I was able to enjoy the last like 15 steps of my walk. But it made me think about all those moments that we are with our ADHD kids or our very, very strong-willed kids, and we're just kind of stuck in the loop. We're stuck in the loop of, oh my gosh, my to-do list is so long. I know this is a really annoying moment. This is a really annoying behavior. I wish this behavior would stop. Oh gosh, why wouldn't this behavior stop? We literally just talked about this. Why won't this change? Why is it always like this? All I need to do is pull over and address the situation, but instead we just keep trying to power through, and we're relying on our current mood and we're relying on willpower in order to get us through these challenging moments, when if we just stopped and did some sort of regulation practice, we would be able to calm ourselves down. We would be able to get that rock out of our system and be able to actually be effective in the moment and maybe, even enjoy it. So last night, and I do want to make a disclaimer because I do not think it's fair that women have to parent when they have PMS or they are on their period. I'm just going to say it out loud. I think it's a really cruel joke that the universe has and is playing on all of us. And every single time we're like, oh my gosh, I don't know why I'm so frustrated. I don't know why I'm filled with this resounding well, or this endless well of rage that just cannot seem to be put out. So last night was one of those particular nights. It was day 27. And that's kind of all I need to say for every woman who is listening. It was day 27. And we had baseball practice. We should have been out the door. It was between 4:30 was the start time, and the end time would have been 6 between both of my kids. So I was like, this is great. We'll be in and out. I'm solo parenting again. So we'll be in and out, back home for dinner, make sure the dogs are fed, like boom, 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 boom. And in fact, we did not get out of there at 6:30. We could not, or my child could not find the brand new bat. Now, if you're a baseball parent, you also know the value of these bats. These bats are insane. These kids, now, this was a hand-me-down bat, but still, it's still a $400 bat. And so I don't want to be losing a $400 bat, especially because it's a hand-me-down and I want to use that thing as much as humanly possible. So it was the first day that my son had this bat, very first day, and within an hour, that bat is gone. And the Little League field is quite large. So all we needed to do was retrace our steps to find where we put down the bat. And this process took 45 minutes. 45 minutes on day 27, when my expectations of timing and leaving the field and hunger and hormones and all that stuff and the to-do list that was still at home, painting a very clear, hopefully very understanding picture of like, oh my God, my rock just kept moving around my foot. My metaphorical rock was moving around my foot. And instead of pulling aside and just calming my body down, I let that rock get more and more and more irritating, to the point where I was telling my kids that it was almost like they had to do it and I was just no longer willing to support this this mission. In that attempt, I should also note, in that attempt, and I clocked it, I was like, you're faux regulating in front of the kids. You're faking it. You're faking it in front of them, and you're faking it to just try to get through this. You're not even, you're saying the right things, but you're saying it through clenched teeth. I'm saying, let's all work as a team to try to find the bat. That's what the words that I said. Let's all work as a team to try to find the bat. How I said it was, let's all work as a team so that we can find this bat, right? Ooh, that rock was really getting in the way of me actually showing up in the intentional way that I wanted. And so I always come back to this. I always come back to this in every single client call, group call, masterclass. Every single thing that I teach is the foundation of responsive parenting is the commitment to practicing regulation, not always nailing it, but practicing it. And when we do this, it's like a yogi, right? It's like a yogi who is started their journey. They went to their first class, they struggled with downward dog, and now they're a yoga instructor and they're doing inversions and they're doing all these really cool poses and doing crow pose and then pushing themselves up into a handstand. Well, that didn't happen overnight, and neither does regulation. It's a consistent practice that we need to commit to. And when we fall off and when we go back to our default pattern and when we mess up and make the rupture, it's recommitting to how am I going to solve this differently in the future? Because these moments are giving us data. And this moment gave me a ton of data. And what I really try to do is look at the data and try to remove the emotion so that I can actually make forward momentum in my parenting. Because if I'm constantly sitting in the emotion of it, last night, what I would have done is spiral. I would have repeated the things that I said, or the way that I said it, or the body language that I had, and I would beat myself up, and I would feel so much guilt and shame, and I would just be like, God, you suck as a parent. You are not cut out for this. And then the negative self-talk would happen, and then the inner critic would be proving me right over and over. And so instead, what I did is I went back through and I took my tracker that I use inside my program, and I went through and I was like, oh, yep. There's where I should have taken that off ramp. Right there. That moment when I was starting to feel really frustrated, I could have done something different. And I was too caught up in the emotion so that I couldn't see it. But looking back, I was able to look at the data. I was able to look at how long it was taking. I was able to look at, what sort of conversations I was having with my kids that might have been more triggering than others. I had my ADHD kid in the sideline, like chiming in because, oh my God, this is so exciting. The non-ADHD kid is sort of in the hot seat right now. Ooh, baby, this is fun. Fairness is amazing, and justice for all and all of that. So he was like, Doing all that chiming in and making the whole situation just a lot spicier than it needed to be. And so looking back at the data, instead of sitting in the shame, sitting in the spiral, sitting in the guilt, and then just basically from that place, not having an additional game plan, but just saying like, please, next time, just try to be better. Don't get frustrated over that next time. Just breathe, right? I was able to then say, I'm completely aware now of exactly where the train went off the tracks. And I actually know what I can do the next time to model that I'm having a tough moment, that this is a frustrating experience. And even in the face of frustration, this is what I can do to support my body so that I can actually get my thinking brain back online so that I can actually solve the problem with you and show you how to do that, show you how to solve problems, show you how, when things seem impossible, how to then take it step by step and make it possible. Now, I was modeling that in terms of let's reverse engineer it, let's retrace your steps, this is how we solve a problem. But was I doing it in a regulated fashion? No, I wasn't.
My name is Renee. I have a 7-year-old and a 4-year-old, both boys. My 7-year-old is incredibly strong-willed. He's constantly fighting us on everything, and things were becoming incredibly challenging for us. Working with Becky was game-changing. Honestly, the tools that she's given us to deal with him and to try and make him feel more comfortable and have a better environment every day with less stress because of our own dysregulation, it's really enlightened our lives to the point of making us all function as a happier family. I have to say, working with Becky is unbelievable. She is automatically a friend, a true companion in the search for higher ground. All of us are just drowning in day-to-day parenting, and I think it's incredibly important to get a life vest when possible. And Becky's there with a smile in hand saying, hey man, I got you the whole way through. And I cannot thank her enough. Like, she's been there, done that. She's in the trenches with you. She's just like, I've got your hand in this. You're not alone in it. I think Becky's just invaluable in that sense. This is exactly what you need if you have a strong-willed kid and you have some issues going on. Becky knows what's going on. Find the friend that I found in her. She's awesome. As a struggling parent, I was looking for that. So I hope that you find her a true voice in your journey.
This is why I think it's very, very helpful to have a plan that you can always fall back on versus just constantly throwing strategy spaghetti against the wall and seeing if hopefully your mood is in the right place, B, your willpower is strong enough, and C, you can just like randomly remember in the heat of the moment, oh my gosh, when I do this, I should do this. Now, this is where we get to give ourselves grace and get to be like, yes, I raise my hand. I am a human and I don't nail it all the time. I think it's important for you to hear me also say that I don't nail this 100% of the time. Is my relationship with my ADHD child 180-degree different than it used to be? Yes. Do we have more good days than bad days? Yes. Do we still have rough days? Yes. And I will be fully transparent that it's still a challenge. ADHD parenting is not easy, and it does take a lot of skill, because if we're sitting here and we're just like trying to muscle our way through it, it's never going to be effective. And I was able to go from a really triggering situation and put intentional action and change behind it for the next time. Because what we do typically as parents is the moment ends and we just move on. We just are like, okay, hopefully that doesn't happen again. But we're never like, what if it happens again? What if it happens again? What's my game plan? How am I prepared for when this happens again? That is my absolute favorite part about what I do inside of my coaching program. Is it's like we prepare for when it happens again, because it will inevitably happen again. My child will lose a piece of equipment that is expensive again, or he will misplace a new bat or a helmet. For instance, his coach has his helmet right now. Now I understand that it's probably a really good idea to check his backpack before we leave the field, before we leave practice, before we leave a session. That's probably a really good checklist to add to the mix. And also, when something doesn't go as it is listed on paper and the checklist isn't fully checked off, maybe we miss a step or we're rushing, what is the emotional game plan? What is the strategic, reactive, responsive game plan that I am going to put in place for those inevitable moments that I know will happen? Absolutely know will happen, because they always happen, right? And so what we need to do as parents is start to really understand what it is about that moment, about the way they talked, about the behavior that they, showed, about their forgetfulness, about any of it. What is it about it that triggers us so much? And then we get to do the really important work of why. Why does it trigger? What is it bringing up? And how can I continue to support myself and grow from this moment and set, safety protocols, trigger protocols, or off ramps, as I sometimes call them, in place so that I can actually give my body what it needs to be able to maintain and get through the moment without adding more of my dysregulation to the already stressful moment. So the rock in my shoe was a very clear indication that there was a lot of external stuff going on in my life that was very chaotic, and I had been overwhelmed, to say the very least, stressed to the max. Like my Aura Ring, I'm not sick at all, and my Aura Ring gave me the that page that pops up that is like, you're dying, you're sick, major signs of compromised body. And that was an indication to me, like, I'm muscling through day after day after day without giving myself an opportunity to regroup, to regulate, to listen. I was just blinders on, focus on just getting through, getting done. And then when that didn't happen, because 45 minutes derailed an entire planned evening, I wasn't prepared. I hadn't set myself up for success. In fact, I had been neglecting so much of my regulation practice for the sake of time that it really showed. And it was such a reminder to me. And sometimes we need to walk right back into the fire again, just in order to be like, yes, this is why I do what I do on a daily basis. Because we get in a flow. Sometimes we get in a flow where we're like, everything's working out really, really well. I guess I don't need to do this as much. And the rock in my shoe, arrow to the lost baseball bat, was such a reminder that the intentional time that I spend regulating my system can't be moved aside. I can't rush through that. And I also can't neglect it for the sake of a different item on my to-do list. So if this resonates with you, which I'm sure many of you are like, yes, for the sake of the calendar, for the sake of the to-do list, for the sake of just getting through bedtime so I can just sit down, we muscle through and we neglect the regulation practice that will allow us to actually get through the whole thing. And when we don't regulate, we actually end up wasting so much more time. I like to think of it as like, if I'm going to spend 7 to 10 minutes regulating my body, that's 7 to 10 minutes and it's done after those 7 to 10 minutes. But if I don't, it is typically at least 14, if not an hour of messy cleanup, rupture, something along those lines. So it's double plus of the time wasted because I tried to, find the shortcut, or I thought I was okay enough, or I just thought willpower will get me through. So if this resonates with you and you're like, you know what, I do not have a regulation practice. I also parent a lot based off my cycle, based off my mood, based off just what I have for that day. And I just try to get through it. If this sounds like you, definitely look into the show notes right now and sign up for my free masterclass where I teach the essential 8 steps that are necessary in order to have so many fewer of these moments, to have things that are in flow, that are predictable, that your nervous system understands, your kid's nervous system understands, and you actually start building skills so that you don't constantly have to rely on the willpower. And we're human, and sometimes we forget. And I definitely forgot. And it was such a good reminder for me to be like, holy cow, this is what every single day used to feel like every day. And you actually know exactly how to make it stop feeling like this. So go do that. And I did that. And I was like, phew. Okay, we're back. And that is what I want for you, to know exactly how to support yourself, to know exactly what to fall back on, what to look at, what to check, so that you can be like, I'm not confused. I'm not confused. It just takes practice and it just takes repetition, and it does eventually become your new normal. And yeah, you'll slip up every now and then. We're human. But to have that be few and far between is my goal for you. To have so many more good days than bad days, to have that communication nailed down so that, when the rupture does happen, it's not so rough that we're doing emotional damage and we're doing some pain. We're making some pain happen. Do you know what I mean? That we're actually able to be like, sorry, I own it. Big mistake. And they're like, yeah, I get it, because we all make mistakes. We've all been there. And that's exactly what happened last night. And my son even said, this was a tough day. He goes, this was a tough day, but you know what? Tomorrow we're going to get back on track. And I love that together we can do that. And we both have the language around that. So just wanted to share that with you, as from a parent in the trenches who does this work every single day, that there are some tough times. And generally they're around day 27 and 28 for me. But I digress. My whole goal now is knowing that, because it is predictable, let's build a strategy around what I'm going to do to set myself up for success, so that what happened yesterday isn't what happens every day 27 or day 28, that I clock it a lot faster. And that's what I do for you inside the program, is I help read your patterns and I help give you the strategies on what to do when these predictable patterns happen, so that you can be more successful in your parenting. So jump into the show notes, check out and enroll in the free masterclass on how to stop yelling and start building a resilient ADHD friendly home. I will see you next week. Thank you for listening to the Responsible Parenting Podcast. If you like what you heard, please take a moment to rate, review, and subscribe. If you know someone who would benefit from this podcast, I'd be honored if you'd share this episode with them. Until next time, know that you are enough, you are capable, you've made it through all of your hardest days, and we will keep growing on this parenting journey together. This podcast was produced by Kim Kelty and myself, Becky Jennings, and edited by the Kelty Method, Branding and Podcasting.